Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Reading Rhythm, the place where we are dissecting the rhythms that make up music from the ground level up. I want everybody to understand this. If you're new to this, please go back to the first episode. Check out whole notes, half notes, and quarter notes. Today we're moving slightly forward with the introduction of eighth notes in conjunction with quarter notes. So now an eighth note is a note that is worth 1/8 of a measure of 4 beats. Okay? Now that's about the extent of my math skills. So if anybody else is confused, welcome to the club. So just look at it this way. You have a measure of 4 beats. Okay? In order to create an eighth note, our counting of those beats has to change. Instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, we're now going to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right? And that little plus sign, that represents your and. Okay? So now what we have here is we have a measure of 4 beats. Okay? And each beat is divided up into 2 equal halves. So we have 8 eighth notes. Hence the name eighth notes, because one of them is worth 1/8 of the total measure of 4 beats. Now, the value of each note on its own within the construct of the beat subdivision is now worth half of a beat. The quarter note itself is worth 1 beat, and the eighth note is worth half a beat. Okay? I also want to do a little sidebar here with you. I want you to notice that the value of each one of these notes gets cut in half with every new note. So the whole note is worth 4 beats. The half note is worth 2. All right? So 4 and a half is 2. 2 of the half note gets cut in half to 1 of the quarter note, all right? And then that 1 beat of the quarter note gets cut in half again to the half, which is the beat of the eighth note, okay? So we're going to be looking at a couple different lines here using mostly quarter notes with some eighth notes thrown in. I want you to notice the eighth notes kind of look like quarter notes, except they're connected with a beam. Now a single eighth looks like a quarter note with a little flag coming off the end. Okay, now if it's a single eighth, it will have the little flag. If you're dealing with multiple eighths consecutively in a row, that little flag gets straightened out and becomes a beam. All right, so we're going to run through these measures. I'm going to count them. I'm only going to do the first 2 measures of each line because it's repetitive. Okay, so we're in 4/4. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, now if you notice, I used the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and counting, and I find that, as this book is making evident as well, whenever you have a rhythm that uses counting other than 1, 2, 3, 4, like the eighth note uses 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the 16th note uses 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and always use the counting that belongs to the fastest note, for lack of a better description, okay? Use it throughout. Even though those quarter notes are just 1, 2, 3, 4, it makes more sense to use the eighth note counting to get the eighth note feel throughout. You don't want to speed up and slow down or vice versa. So you want to be really steady with your counting. So we're going to do that measure twice now. We'll do it one more time. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right. The next line presents the same ingredients but in a different order. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, there you have it. So that's it for this page. We're going to move on to one other just to spice things up a little bit more. This page is going to use 2 full beats of beamed eighth notes. Sometimes the beamed eighth notes will be connected. Other times they will be disconnected. But the counting and the feel and the sound will be the same. All right, so here's our first measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right. The next one shows them separate, just to give you both ways of looking at it. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 And that's pretty much it. Pretty basic stuff. Obviously, if you guys are practicing this at home, using the piano or drums or guitar, whatever you do, it doesn't really matter what note you use. You can even do this with chords, right? That would be good for chord strumming. As long as you're keeping good time, using a metronome is actually the way to go, because that will ensure that you don't miss any beats and that you're very steady. But we're just kind of keeping this as simple as possible. If anybody has any questions, please leave them in the comments below. As always, like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.